country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads.
Hey everyone, welcome to this guitar cover song lesson. My name's Nate Savage, if you don't know me, and we're going to be taking a look at the John Denver song Country Roads in this particular video. We're going to be doing the strumming version of this with some simple chords, some simple strumming patterns. We're going to add some alternating bass to the strumming pattern, and then some walk-ups and walk-downs too. I'm also going to do a version of the song that does the fingerstyle version of this, so I really recommend doing this one first. That way you can get your left hand down, or sorry, your chording or fretting hand down first. That way you don't have to worry about it when you go put the fingerstyle with this song. And what I've done is I've kind of standardized what's going on from the recording to make this a little more predictable and easier to learn. The tab, jam track, and all the resources you need are available on guitarfam.com. So if you haven't already, go to guitarfam.com and create a complimentary account, and you'll be able to get all these resources there, and you'll be able to access the first module of all of our premium courses too with your complimentary account. And every Guitar Fam member gets a personal private one-on-one video lesson with me, so you can take advantage of that and schedule that on the site for whatever works for you. Let's go ahead and get into this. All right, first things first, let's just go through the chords you need to play the song. First chord is an A major. We're in the key of A major, by the way. Then you next need an F sharp minor. Bar chord, that's the only bar chord in the whole song. So one bar chord almost qualifies as an easy song, but you have this bar chord. And this song is a little bit deceptively easy too, because it's pretty simple, but it's very specific anyway. You'll see more about that later. Next chord is an E major. Then you have a D major. And then a G major. And those are the only 5 chords in this entire song. All right, now like I said, this is in the key of A major. So if you look at the key of A major scale is spelled A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. So most of the chords we have that we're using here at diatonic are natural to the key of A major. We're using the 1, the 4, and the 5. Those are major chords. The A major is the 1, the 4 is the D major chord, and the 5 is the E major chord. Then we also have the F sharp minor, which is the 6th chord. And the 1 chord that's the odd man out is the lowered major 7 chord, so a G major chord. Doesn't fit the key. It's not diatonic, just be aware of that. So the first thing I would do, I would just go through those chords and make sure if you can play all of them and go to them right away on their own before trying to play through the song using these chords. That'll help you a lot, so that can be your first practice point. Okay, if you have the chords down, we're gonna go through and kind of do this progressively. I'm going to teach you a very easy strumming pattern, and then we're going to progressively dress it up with some alternating bass, and then some walk downs and walk ups and that type of thing too. So the foundational strumming pattern that we have is just down, down, up. It's a 1 beat strumming pattern, so you have 1 E, nothing on E, and then down, up. So down, down, up. And you want to keep your arm going the whole time with the constant strumming. That 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and slow that down, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and then you're just going to be going down, down, up, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and So you're still doing all the strokes, you're just not digging in to the strings on an upstroke on E of each beat. So I would just start by getting that down. Slowly, 1 E and 2 E and be as deliberate about it as you need to keep that constant strumming motion going. 1 E and 2 E and then start to speed it up. It's about this tempo right here. And you can see I'm already kind of naturally going just the bottom few bass notes or bass strings on the 1. Nothing on the E, and then I'm hitting all like the top 3 to 5 strings. And that's kind of the strumming pattern you want to be going for. At first, when you start it out, don't worry about the nuance of which strings you're hitting. Just get the strumming pattern down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then once you got that down, On the A chord, I'm muting the low E string with my thumb because I don't want that in there just yet. It'll come into play when we start doing the alternating bass. But so that's what you want to kind of shoot for, and just take this progressively. You know, start off, and all you can do is first is, that's great, or even quarter notes. You know, just to get to where you can play through the song. So that's the foundational kind of strumming pattern. And I would take that and just go through the chord progression in each section of the song with that out of time, without a metronome at first, just to get used to putting all the pieces together. Practice the chords on their own. We'll get to the progressions here in a second. And then the strumming on its own, when you bring them together, will be much easier to play through the entire song. So that's the beginner version of the strumming pattern. The intermediate kind of version of the strumming pattern is just alternating bass. So on every chord, you're going to have the root note of whatever chord you play. In this case, we have an A. So the open A string is our root, and then we have our down up, and then we have the open E string. Anytime you have an A chord, that's going to be your alternating pattern for the A. So down on the A string, down up on the top 3 to 5 strings, and then low E string. And if you look at the first measure, it's just that little pattern twice. And this is a lot easier looking and sounding. Sorry, it's easier looking and sounding than it actually is. Having the accuracy to actually hit these strings consistently is a skill that needs to be developed. So I would recommend taking each chord on its own and just work on. What you're doing is programming in where that A string is and that E string. And what I end up doing is my pinky touches the top of my guitar a lot while I'm strumming, so I can feel where that A string is, and then I kind of, same thing, I can tell it's just floating here, touching maybe the high E string or the top of the guitar, so I can feel where that low E string is. And you just have to spend some time programming that in, and often, when you're first starting out, it helps to actually look back to program it in, but often what I'll do is I'll just kind of close my eyes and see it in my mind's eye. And that helps me a lot. But spending time on the individual chords for this alternating bass thing is really important. Anyway, that's the basic strumming pattern for the intermediate version of this song. And what I would recommend doing is just, if you can't do, just the kind of the generic beginner version, work with that. If you can do that, tackle this one with the alternating bass without the walk-ups or walk-downs. And then kind of the upper intermediate version of the song is when you put the walk-downs in. So let's go ahead and just start tackling this song as far as the progression, line by line and section by section, and I'll show you the alternating bass with each chord. It's very consistent. I've written it out to be very consistent anyways. The recording isn't quite this. This is more standardized, so this should help you a little bit. Anyway, so at the beginning, the intro, we have 2 measures of A, so just. Okay, then he starts singing, and you have 1 measure of A. Then you switch to the F sharp minor, and the bass line for the F sharp minor, anytime you have an F sharp minor, is E string, down, up, and then A string. Okay, so it's inverted from what the A is. Okay, so that's 1 measure of the F. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Okay, now the E is the exact same as far as the layout for the strumming as the F sharp minor. So you don't have to learn anything new here. Just E, strum, strum, A string. Okay, and now you get to the D string. It's a little bit different story here because the D, throughout the song, for most of its, you have a lot of half measures with the D chord, but not always. So generally speaking, when you have a D chord for your strumming pattern, it will be D string, strum, strum, and then A string, strum, strum. So, but we have a half measure here, and this is a little bit weird. Because this song doesn't sound that complicated, but it has a measure 2/4 right here on the D. So instead of doing a full, round of alternating bass on the D, I just have on my D string downstroke, down up, And then I have a walk down, my first walk down. And if you're not ready for the walk downs yet, just do just the strumming pattern. So D string, down, up, A string, down, up, okay? But if you are ready for the walk down, on beat 2, just play 4, 2 of the A string with downstrokes. And that'll get you back into the next couple measures of A, which next measure of A, standard. And that's kind of the first phrase of each of the verses. So I really would recommend just taking this one chord at a time and making sure your bass note hand, your pick knows where those bass notes are, and you've really programmed it in well. It'll make it much easier to be accurate as you go along and play throughout the song. So let me play verse 1, and this is verse 1 and verse 2 are the exact same, just so you know. Let me play verse 1 up to this point for you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And right here, you stay on an A chord, but this starts the second phrase of the verse, and it's really almost the exact same as the first phrase of the verse. So if you have a measure of A, then you go F sharp minor, then an E, nothing new. Now you have a D with the walk down, or you can just go, if you're not ready for the walk downs yet, and then you hit an A for just 2 beats this time. And that gets you into the chorus. So let me play the second half of each verse for you so you can get that transition on that last measure with that D for 2 beats and then A for 2 beats. 1, 2, second half, here you go. And I am reaching out and playing that 4th fret of the A string with my pinky. Then my second finger grabs the 2nd fret of the A string with my middle finger. So that's the fingering I'm using for that particular walk down. And I should mention that, yeah, switching from open chords to bar chords is one of the tougher things to do to get to like a really solid intermediate level playing. So I would really isolate that A to that F sharp minor. And one thing you might want to do, going from the F sharp minor down to the E, is just slide down with these fingers that are already on the A and D strings, and then finish making the E chord with these 3 fingers. That might make the transition a little bit easier for you. All right, from there we're into the chorus, and the walk downs get a little more active, but again, if you can't do them yet, don't worry about doing the walk downs. Just maintain the strumming pattern for an extra beat or whatever the particular walk down or walk up takes up. So chorus, play just an A for 1 measure, or you can do a walk up on the last beat on 4, and that goes 4 on the A string, open D string, and then I come down on the next measure to an E. So I'm going to this E is what it sounds like, but I'm hitting the low E, because the next measure moves to an E chord, and I just do a normal strumming pattern over an E. And I should mention that I'm playing it really light on my upstrokes, just so I don't get caught in the strings there. So those first 2 measures. Then F sharp minor again, isolate the E to F sharp minor, and just practice that. But this is just a normal measure of F sharp minor. Okay, and then this is pretty close to a full measure of D coming up, but there's a walk down at the end of it if you want to put it in there. If not, just play a full measure of D like this. That's just alternating between the D and A strings. But if you want to put the walk down in here, 4 on the A, 2 on the A. And that's walking down to an A chord in the next measure. And this measure of A is exactly like the first measure of A in the chorus. So 4 of the A string, open D string, or just finish, the full measure of strumming. It's up to you. Back to an E, Then you have a walk up that you can do to 4 on the A, to a D in the next measure. And you can, again, you can either do a full measure of just regular D strumming like this, or the walk down. To an A, and that's just 4, 2, walking down to an A. And the next measure, that open A, and that's just, to finish the first course, you just do a full measure of A. Okay, so let me play the whole course for you, and courses 1 and 2 are the exact same. So once you learn it once, you got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the bulk of the song. So what you do is you do the intro, the little 2 measures of A, play verse 1, play chorus 1, and then you'll see repeat signs on, what measure is that, 19? And then you go back to verse 1, the beginning of the verse. So you play the verse again, verse 2, and then play chorus 2, same chorus, but this time you take the second ending. And all it is, it's still an A chord, right? You just have a walk up into the F sharp minor that's coming on the bridge. So on 4 and, you have 2 downstrokes on open E, this F on the first fret of the low E string, and then you land on this F sharp for your F sharp minor chord. And the next, only 2 beats, next measure, but you only play that F sharp minor for 2 beats. So open 1, and then I just slide my index finger up and let the rest of my F sharp minor come down and play my strumming pattern. Just 2 beats. Then I switch to an E major for 2 beats. Then A for the next measure, and you have a walk up into the D. So normal strumming pattern to start. Walk up to 4 on the A string to a D. Then you have a full measure, 2 beats of D, just normal strumming pattern. Then A for 2 beats, normal strumming pattern. Then you move to an E chord, full measure of E with a walk up at the end again to an F sharp. So, and here's the walk up, 4 open, E string, and first fret, and then again on the next measure you end up on the F sharp minor, and you put the whole chord on and just play for 2 beats. Just the F sharp standard the strumming pattern. And here is where the G comes into play. You go on beats 3 and 4, you have a G chord with a standardized strumming pattern. You just, first downstroke is on the low E string, down up, then the A string, down up. And that's it for the G. So it's just on beats 3 and 4. And then you have a D in the next measure. It's you can either do a standard strumming pattern, or you can do the starting of a standard strumming pattern with a walk down, 4, 2 on the A string, and then A. Standard strumming pattern for 2 beats on beats 3 and 4. Next measure is just an E major chord for a full measure of, standard strumming pattern. E string, down, up, A string, down, up, E string, down, up, A string, down, up. And the last measure of the bridge, you just stay on that same E, but for the first 2 beats, you do the strumming pattern. And then on beat 3 and 4, just hit it and let it ring out for the rest of that measure. And that gets you back into the chorus. Let me play the entire bridge for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and one thing I should mention that helps me is if I'm moving between the D, A, and E chords, the way I make an A is with my index finger on the G string, and then my other 2 fingers fall in place. And when I do that, I can move to my D chord and my index finger doesn't move. And I can move to my E chord, my index finger doesn't change strings, it just moves back a fret. So that makes changing between the A, D, and E chords a lot easier, and it gives me kind of a home base or something that's always kind of the same. That index finger will get a big divot from staying on that G string so much throughout the song. But it's a nice little guidepost to guide you and make changing between those chords easier. Okay, from there, you just have another chorus again. Actually, it's a double chorus. And the first ending is just normal. It's just a normal measure of A. Then it repeats, country road. Right? F sharp minor. D. Walk down. A. E. D. And from there you go to an A again. It's the exact same thing, but you have this kind of a walk down that only happens in this part of the song. You go A twice, and then I go 2 on the low E string, and then 4 on the low E string as well, my second finger, and that leads me into the E chord. So I have 3 and 4 and then I play my E chord for a half of a measure, and I have the inverse of that. I go open E, 2, 4 on 3 and 4, and to get back into the A, it's a walk up to the A, and then I play my A for a half measure, and then I did the same walk down, back to the E, half measure, then the walk up, and then to finish things off, we're just going to do an A strumming pattern for 2 beats, and then on 3 have 3 down strum, another down strum with the A sus2. So just lift your third finger up to play that open B string, and then on beat 4, put it back down to play just a normal A. So let me play, I'll play that last chorus for you with the tag at the end and the extra walk downs and walk ups between that E and A. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, country road. The entire song. So just to review kind of the layout, you have that 2 measure intro with just on an A. You have verse 1, chorus 1, take the repeats back to verse 2, chorus 2, then you have the bridge with a little pause at the end for those 2 beats on beats 3 and 4. Then you go back into the chorus, play the chorus twice, and at the end you take the second ending and go to the outro tag where you just flip back and forth in between the E and the A there. And that's it. Okay, that's it for this one. Like I mentioned earlier, this is just the strumming version of this song. I am going to be putting a fingerstyle version of this out, but I really recommend going through this video first to get your fretting hand down and taken care of. That way, whenever you go to learn the fingerstyle patterns and things like that, especially with the alternating bass and walk downs, you won't have to be thinking about your fretting hand at all. You'll be able to devote all your attention to your picking hand. And if you have any questions at all about this song or anything related to the guitar, you can leave them in the comments below or email us support@guitarfam.com. And I really would encourage you to go to guitarfam.com, create your complimentary account. You'll be able to access all the resources for this lesson. The first module of all of our premium courses is free for all complimentary members, and you get a personal private one-on-one video lesson with me that you can schedule right on the site. Thanks a lot. I'll see you later.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. drop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads. I hear her voice in the morning now. She calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, take me home. Country roads, take me home.